everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to Book Witches with a B.
I'm Colleen.
I'm eating.
That's Orja.
I'm Orja.
And welcome to our podcast.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking about chapters 56 through 60 of A Court of Mist and Fury today.
They're almost done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think we'll have 2 more episodes after this.
Ooh. We're going to have some surprise episodes soon in there as well.
We are.
We're going to get there.
We're going to get there.
But.
And, yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
I love this book. I do feel like we've been on this book forever.
We have been.
I was thinking about that, like, the other day. I was meeting up with her for, like, a happy hour thing yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I love this book. We have also been on this book for an eternity.
We have, but if you think about it, during the span of this season, mm-hmm. I moved back from New Jersey.
I think that's why. Yeah. It feels longer, even though I don't think it's not any longer than any of the other books we've done.
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, so I will say before we start this episode, trigger warnings for, like, violence. There is a big attack on a city.
Correct.
And there's a lot of, death and violence and stuff like that. But we're not going to really go into detail.
No.
But, All right, let's get into the chapter recap, shall we?
Let's go.
Oh, no worries, just watching some racing.
Correct, that's why I said, I was like, I'm not lying, I'm watching racing. I've gotten really into F1 recently, y'all. This really feeds into my Fast and Furious.
It really does.
Love.
It's so perfect.
Except it's faster.
It is faster.
It's way faster.
Okay, chapter 56. So if you'll remember in the last chapter, it was chapter 55. Feyre and Rhysand fully consummated their mating bond, shall we say. And it was sweet. We learned a lot about... They learned a lot about each other and took the time to, like, really get to know each other as mates and stuff.
Which is very cute.
And then Rhys is like, yeah, the Mortal Queen's answered. We gotta go to the Mortal Lands tomorrow. Surprise!
Surprise!
So they winnow back to the Illyrian camp. Rhys does have a track on his magic by an unknown enemy, but he's like, they're not going to attack an Illyrian war camp, so we can winnow back. Yeah. So they winnow back to the Illyrian war camp, and Cassian immediately gets Rhysand, like, super worked up, and they start, like, punching each other, and, like, it's, like, brutal. They're, like, fighting really hard. The Illyrians have, like, taken the women and children and flown away.
They're like, oh, no.
Yeah. And Feyre realizes that it's because, this mating bond makes males really, like, possessive, territorial at first. And she realizes that Cassian saw this, like, edge in Rhysand's eyes, and Rhysand knew that Cassian saw it, and so Cassian is like, let's just beat each other up a little bit, like, get that out of your system.
I actually would be so intrigued to know who of them would actually win in a fight.
Yeah.
Without magic.
I think it's Cassian.
I think it would be Cassian
I think
as well.
Rhysand might have admitted it's Cassian, too.
I think it is Cassian. With magic, honestly, Cassian might still be able to hold his own. He does have his own magic.
He does have a lot of, the Illyrian death magic.
Correct. And since he's a better fighter, I feel like he could have the upper hand.
It's possible. Alas, we shall never see.
Boo.
So Mora's, like, basically like, hey, they're gonna be a while. Like, come inside and let's have some wine. Mm-hmm. So they're, like, chilling, and Rhysand and Cassian finish, right? Rhysand gets in, and he's still, like, bloody and dirty, and he is basically, like, everyone out, and Mora and Cassian disappear, and then he, like, has sex with Feyre on the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I'm good now.
At this point, if I was Feyre, I'd be like, did I make a mistake? Right? Like, she knows it's, like, Faye, and it's very Faye.
Yeah.
But I'd be like,
Well, and, like, she's feeling those things, too, but she's feeling it more from, like, a clinical aspect, where she's like, this is really strange. This is so weird, sort of thing. So after that whole thing, they all winnow back to Valaris, and they have a dinner, and the whole inner circle's there, and they're basically like, we will serve and protect.
Oh, to Feyre.
Yeah, to Feyre, because she's now mated to Rhysand. And Feyre's like, I would rather you be my friends.
Yeah.
And they're like, we are your friends. Welcome to the family. But also, we will serve and protect. Deal with it, basically.
Like, you don't have a choice now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet. She's like, I'm home. This is my family.
Oh.
Chapter 57. The human queens arrive, but this time only 2 of them come. It says 3 here. It's only 2 of them.
It's the Golden Queen and
It's the Golden Queen and the oldest.
The oldest, like, growny looking one, yeah.
Yeah. They say that the other 3 were so offended by Nesta and how she spoke to them last time that they refused to come.
I mean, a little fair, but also, it's Nesta.
Yeah. And then this whole thing is just so wild. I have an excerpt to read. So, like, basically, Moore brings the Veritas. So she brings the orb out and shows them Valaris. Rhys tells them she, like, brings it out to show them. Rhys says there's a place in his lands of peace and art and prosperity. And he shows them Valaris and says they have kept this secret for 5,000 years. The reason that the Night Court is so brutal and you know, people hate them. He's like, it is to protect this secret. The queens say they'll think about it, discuss, and let them know. So before I move on to what comes next, let me read this excerpt that I had because it's cool.
Also, when we get into a deep dive, I have a thought of how they could have avoided, like, literally everything that happens later.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Okay. So Maura brings out the Veritas, and she says, truth is deadly, truth is freedom. Truth can break and mend and bind. The Veritas holds in it the truth of the world. I am the Morrigan, she said, her eyes not wholly of this earth. The hair on my arms rose. You know I speak truth. So, hold on to that thought, because we're going to discuss this in deep dive, because I did have a theory about it. I don't know if you remember, but I want to bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that is the Veritas. No, go away, Ad. Stop. Okay.
Get away.
Rhys explains that it's urgent, and the queen reveals that Rhys sent them a letter asking them to help him save Feyre's people so they can one day live in a world where there is peace between their people. Basically, Feyre realizes that Rhysand didn't, like, demand the queens to meet them. He, like, wrote a love letter to her. Was basically like, the woman I love used to be human, and I want a world that's a better place where she can go and visit her family, and we can have friends and be in peace. And the queens are like, bleh.
I don't think they're very romantic.
They're not.
I don't think they're romantic girlies.
They suck.
They do.
The oldest queen questions if this is all just a manipulation tactic. They don't know. Maybe Rhysand's in their heads, making them feel more, you know, pliable, and maybe the Morrigan isn't really the Morrigan. Nesta gets angry and demands that they give them the book and begs them for help and to not leave them to die. She, like, cries.
Which is odd for Nesta.
Yeah, like, she's so filled with rage, she cries. Cassian comes up to Nesta, and he says he will fight for her and her people, and wipes the tear from her eyes.
Oh.
The queens leave, but they already know that they will say no. The golden-haired queen has left. However, sorry, this is not. So the queens basically are like, we're not gonna give you the book. Never. And they leave. And everyone's like, oh no. And then Feyre notices Rhysand staring at the seat that the golden-haired queen was in. And she's left a box, and the box has their half of the book. And then I have another excerpt to read because it's wild, and we literally don't come back to this until the end of the next book. So the note says, I read your letter about the woman you love. I believe you, and I believe in peace. I believe in a better world. If anyone asks you stole this during the meeting, do not trust the others. The sixth queen was not ill. That was it.
That's all we get.
What? We'll come back to that in deep dive.
Yes. Also, love her.
We
hate the rest of them. Love her.
Yeah. So Rhys tells Nesta and Elaine that they can come and stay in Valaris, and if they don't want to, then he'll send guards to guard them here. Nesta lets Elaine choose, and she says she can't go. She is married to Grayson.
They're getting married.
Or she's, engaged to Grayson. So
In her iron ring.
The worst.
The worst.
Chapter 58. So the Inner Circle goes back to Valaris and gives Amren the second half of the book. Feyre thanks Cassian for what he said to Nesta. She says that Nesta's not like other people. She keeps her walls up to keep from feeling too much. She says Nesta will never forget that he offered to fight for Elaine. And Cassian's like, why are you telling me this? And Feyre's like, because I like to stick my nose in other people's business.
Always. Every time. Which I love about her.
I feel that deeply, too. So they're like walking through the city. Her and Rhys is away. He's at the Court of Nightmares. And Cassian and Feyre have just seen like a concert.
Yes, in the rainbow.
Yeah, in the rainbow. And they're walking back, and suddenly when they're on the bridge, she feels a shift in like the river below. And she spots black things flying in the sky heading towards Valaris. The creatures all look like the adder, she realizes. And she realizes the queen sold them out, and these have been sent by the king of Hybern.
Boo.
One of them drops the body of the young golden-haired queen. She's impaled on a lamppost and dies, and she has been tortured.
It's pretty good. That part is very gruesome.
It's so
this was the part that I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
When I started reading this section.
The creature says she's been sent from the mortal queens Andurian, and then the attack begins. Cassian is like, get back to the townhouse. Feyre is like, I will not.
Yeah.
We have Cassian running off and defending the city from one side. Asriel finally shows up and is defending from the other side. Amren is taking one of the quarters. She's just like, Farrah's just like, where she points, they die.
And
like,
the way that they do it is insane.
It's so crazy. We get an explanation of that a little later, but basically what's happening is she's making their worst fears come true. She's making some of them believe that they're thousands of feet up, so when they swoop down, they literally just fly right into the pavement.
Or they just can't fly anymore.
She makes them believe that they're drowning.
Yeah.
Like, she like messes with their minds.
Which is terrifying.
So scary.
In a fun way.
Feyre runs to protect the artist's quarter, and she uses her powers to make wolves out of the water.
Yes.
And then she turns them into like hawks and vultures and eagles and falcons. When the adders start flying, she's like, you're not getting anywhere. She drenches some of them with water and then freezes them to ice so cold.
Which is so cool.
And they like die instantly, but they also crash to the floor and break apart, which is gross.
Gross, yeah.
And she finally sees the adder that she knows, the one from under the mountain.
The worst one.
Trying to fly back to the king of Hybern, and she goes after it. Chapter 59. Rhys is trying desperately to contact Feyre. Feyre has put up a wall. He's like, where are you? And she's like, not now. I am getting that adder.
She's like, I gotta focus.
And also, Rhysand has, like, she mentions that she sees, like, a wave of darkness, and it's clearly Rhysand's there. He's gotten there. She is, like, laser focused on the adder. She's like, I will kill this thing. So she winnows to above the adder.
Yeah.
And she slams into him and, like, slams, like, ash arrows into his wings and, like, basically holds on to him and turns herself into, like, fire.
Flame, basically, yeah.
And she's like burning him. They can't fly. They're hurtling towards the ground. And then she takes a knife and she stabs the adder 3 times. Once for Rhysand. Once for Claire Better.
Yeah.
And then she said, and this is for me. And they're right about to slam into the ground, and she winnows herself away, and the adder slams into the ground and dies. And it's very satisfying.
It's so cool.
Chapter 60.
Ooh.
Valaris has been secured once again. Amren has cracked the code of the book and says that to nullify the cauldron, Feyre needs to touch it, like touch the cauldron and speak these words that she's found in the book. Feyre asks what happens if they put the 2 pieces of the book together, which, it's fine. And Amren says that the blast of power it would cause would be felt in every corner on the earth and would draw all types of enemies to them. Like not even just enemies, like just things that have been sleeping for years.
Things that you don't want.
You don't want to wake them up, yeah. They want to winnow Feyre in to destroy the cauldron, and they don't want Rhys to come with them because he's got a track on his magic. And we find out that Asriel's basically narrowed down the location to 1 floor in the king's castle. They would need Rhys to stay outside while Feyre goes into the stronghold. Rhys and Feyre decide to share. Basically, he's like, you can do it if you want. Like, I'm not going to say no. And she realizes that she was treated so horribly before. Yeah. Like, she was like, my standards must have been so low.
They were on the ground, yeah.
That him literally just letting me choose means so much to me.
Yeah.
So then later on, she's like walking up to her room and she's thinking about how with Tamlin they had separate rooms, and Tamlin would always just come to her room for the love making, you know.
Which is very traditional royalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, very British royalty, actually.
Yeah, and so she's thinking about it, and Rhysand is like, you know, your room or my room, wherever you want, we're sharing a room. We're not keeping separate rooms.
Which is cute, unless she wanted to, but yeah, she doesn't seem to want to.
She does not want to.
Yes.
And they decide to share a room, and they share Rhysand's room because it has a bigger bed.
Fair.
And then Rhys gives her his mother's ring, the one she got from the Weaver. He says his mother gave it to him to remind him that she was always with him. She gave it to the Weaver then, when he reached his maturity, and told Rhys that if he were ever to marry or mate, his mate or wife must be smart enough or strong enough to get it back from the Weaver. She said that if the female were neither, then she would not survive the marriage. Rhys promised that any potential bride would be given the test. Feyre says after they nullify the cauldron, she wants to do it all. She wants to marry, have their bond declared, and have a big party. And Rhysand responds with, and what if I wanted to go one step beyond that? And that is where we end our chapter recap.
I have so many thoughts.
Yes. So that's where we end our chapter recap.
Yay!
Let's do section superlatives real quick.
Mm-hmm. So we have
Drama Queen
of the section. Oh gosh.
Honestly, I don't know if there is one.
The old crone.
Oh, yeah.
The old crone lady.
You're right.
And like we were so offended by Nesta. I'm like, please get over yourself.
Right. I think Rhysand is even like, if you're offended by that, you're gonna have a really rude awakening when war comes to your doorstep.
Correct. Yeah. Also, not the first person that's ever insulted you. We have to know that.
Yeah.
You're royalty.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of par for the course.
It's so true.
Wow.
No, I agree. Can we give like a honorable mention of like honor and valor to the golden-haired queen?
I love her.
Me too.
Yeah. It's interesting because we don't see a lot of her.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get the I don't know, her bravery clearly and intelligence, and like she knew the consequences of what was going to happen to her. I think maybe not to the degree that it happened. I think she thought maybe something else would happen, which was what we know of the Sixth Queen later. Mm-hmm. But I mean, she knew something awful would happen to her regardless. And
she wants peace. She wanted a better world, and so she sacrificed herself, basically.
She chose, how do I put it? Like, others over her own comfort.
Yeah.
And her own, will.
That is a good queen.
Yeah, as leaders should be. Mm-hmm. To a degree. I mean, there's an element of self-sacrificing that can get not phenomenal. Similar to Rhys. I think Rhys kind of puts himself in a weird position, too much of self-sacrificing.
I agree.
But I think there's a balance between the two.
And then craziest thing to happen.
Gosh. Attacking Valaris, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the part to me that I was like, oh, honestly, the queen being dropped on that pole.
Oh, God, yeah.
Was probably the most wild thing for me.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. And finding out Amren's power. That was fun.
That was fun.
Because we've heard her talk about being terrifying, but we don't really,
we don't understand why, but now we know.
She is the literal, which is funny, because she's, the nightmare that people tell their kids or whatever to worry about. She's the boogeyman. She kind of is.
She really is. She'll kill you with your own fear.
Terrifying. Honestly, such a cool... Now, if people ask me what my superpower would be, that might be my favorite. Because it's interesting. Because everyone has a fear.
It's true.
You're never going to be at a disadvantage.
You would be unstoppable.
Correct.
Have you read A Curse of Thorns and Shadows? That Viking?
Yes, that you told me to read. I haven't read all of them.
Okay, so side note, there is this character called the Night Render.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And this, the second trilogy is a spin-off of the Night Render.
So I've started the first book. I didn't.
Okay.
It's the one with the red-headed girl, right?
Yeah.
I started. I haven't finished it.
I think that one actually might be my favorite of the spin-offs. But his power is fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It would be a super. He's basically Amren.
Not against it.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I think I started it and then I started Third of Glass.
Yeah. So
around the same time.
Amren's really tiny, but she's terrifying.
Yeah.
I think that if she was a male and she could choose her form, I feel like she would choose the Night Render.
No, yeah, I agree. From what I've seen. Because he was in some of the earlier books, right? We just don't know, really.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about him. He was there to, he, like, came and helped them fight in their final battle in, like, the third book of the original trilogy.
Yes, okay. It has probably been over a year and a half since I've read those, so trying to remember. But yes, I did like them. I like Viking-inspired things.
Me too, they're fun.
A lot. So, interesting. Yeah, no, I think we've all had the question of, like, I always say teleportation because I do still think that's the most useful power.
Yeah.
But, like, so I think it depends. If it's just, like, something that I want to use day-to-day life, teleportation. Mm-hmm. If it's, like, a superpower to help other people, the fear one.
Yeah. No, I agree. Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess, do you want to head to Colleen's Corner?
Yes. Oh, gosh. I did have... Oh, okay.
Hold the mic closer to your face.
Oh, yes. I have a thought. So it may not be perfect, but I think this is a good section to talk about it. So I think a lot of this book, and even going into the next book, would have been very different if Rhys knew how to communicate with people and didn't try to just steal the book from Tarquin. Because I don't think Tarquin would have told anybody. I don't think he would have turned.
I agree.
So I think I think there was some elements of it, but I think some of the blame would have not been fully on Rhys, and I think some of the consequences would have been different. But I think if Tarquin was the one that went to speak to the Mortal Queens, had nothing to do with Rhys, they would not have had to prove their goodness to them. They would have never known that Valaris was happening. They would have never met all of Feyre's family. There was a lot of things that I think would have prevented. I'm trying not to spoil too much what happens later in the book, but, like, how this book ends would not end the way that it did.
No, I agree with you. If
they would have just let Tarquin, and they would have also had Cressida and Varen. I was like, not Varish. Varen. They would have had a lot more people, I think, that could have come and helped them. And I also think they're almost better at strategy than Rhys is. I don't know what it is with strategic choices. That is not the Night Court's strong suit.
It is not.
They're good at manipulation. They are not, but they can't do in this situation.
I'm going to say something that might set the internet on fire.
No, I'm okay with it.
It's because of the structure of the inner circle. They are friends and family first.
Correct.
Rulers second.
Correct. Well, and so that's kind of where, like we were talking about the queen thing, there is a balance in power of being like, I am in power. Mm-hmm. Like, regardless, you have been given that power. So you have to do something with it.
Exactly.
And utilize it. Not just be like, I get that they're wanting to be, you know, like, fair rulers and things. Mm-hmm. But I do think... I think you have to think of all of your people, not just your mate. I love you, Rhys. Mm-hmm. You literally sacrificed your entire city. I know he was thinking he was doing it for the humans and things, and I think he was to a degree, but I don't think his motivation really, I don't think that Rhys could care less than two shakes of a lamb's tail about the humans. He cares for Feyre, and Feyre cares for the humans.
I do think that he cares for the humans.
That's fair.
He did fight in the war for them.
I think he doesn't want to see them injured, if that makes sense. He doesn't want to hurt them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any humans other than his mate that are currently alive that he cares for, but I do think that he cared for, and those around him also cared for humans.
That's, how do I...
Like, Mor was friends with the Mortal Queens.
She was. I think the motivation behind what he's doing, though, is not for the humans. So that's what I'm saying.
No,
like, his motivation for doing it is because it affects Feyre.
Yeah.
Not because he wants to protect them. He does want to protect them, but I think if his motivation was actually protecting them, I think maybe he would have made... only protecting them, I think he would have made very different choices and gone about it very, like, evidenced by his letter that he wrote to the queens. I know he was trying to appeal to them and be like, this is my mate. Like, he was trying to appeal to their, like, humanity nature element, which I get. And I get that love is a powerful motivator, but I think if he would have went about it as a king instead of as a pleading, desperate man, I think they might have had a different
outcome. That's a great point.
Which Tarquin would have done.
Tarquin would have done a really good job.
I think he would have been good at handling humans.
Yeah.
I think the way that he would have navigated them would have been interesting. He also has an extreme amount of wealth to be... I know the queens are wealthy, but I think
they clearly want more, though.
Correct. I think there's a way that Tarquin would have, like, spoken their language. I think the motivation of the queens make no sense to Rhys. like the way that they're going about it is just like not what he values, and
Yeah.
and really none of the inner circle outside of maybe Amryn values, and so he cannot logic through like from the first meeting, which I guess it helped with the Golden Queen.
Yeah.
So I guess it did eventually get there, but I think, I don't know, my thought is if he would have approached it differently and really looked at it from a more strategic standpoint, instead of probably would have helped if Feyre wouldn't have dumped him in the mud. I'm assuming that letter was sent after he was dumped in the mud and she ran away to the cabins.
It might have been.
I'm not blaming them.
No,
They
no,
did
no.
the
It
best
wasn't. It was sent before they were.
Okay.
It was sent when they first were trying.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. I understand. I just feel like for the rest of this book, and I know we're not fully there yet, I feel like it's just a series of if you would have thought just a little bit farther ahead, I think everything would have been fine.
Your point about it all went wrong when he decided not to trust Tarquin.
Correct.
Is so it's so valid.
I understand his hesitancy because honestly the rest of them are a nightmare, and the last person he trusted was Tamlin, and that went horrifically wrong.
As we know, yeah.
As we know. But I think that you can't fight the whole world on your own as much as you want to.
Yeah.
Even with Amaranth and Under the Mountain, honestly, if Rhys maybe would have been better about making strategic alliances, I think some things would have gone better for him.
I agree.
Under the Mountain. Again, nothing that happened to him was his fault. I am not saying that. I just don't think Rhys is a strategic person.
Yeah. Well, okay, and this is a little spoilery. I'm going to bring this in, though.
Mm-hmm.
In the third book, when they have the meeting of the High Lords,
Yes.
Mor is friends with someone in the Winter Court.
Correct. Good friends.
Really good friends.
Correct. They have allies. I know it's
also, you also find out that, Helion
Oh.
does not hate them.
No. Absolutely adores them. Which also, again, reach out to Helion.
Right.
If you, maybe you don't want to trust
God.
the New Lord, the God of Wisdom, essentially, in this universe. I know we don't know this yet. Helion is my favorite High Lord.
This is very out of context spoilers, so don't, it's not actually spoiling much.
But
so.
he is known as they're the ones with the big library, I think. Correct. He's known for his brain and his
Spell
wits.
cleaver.
Yes, he's smart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm why don't you call up your buddy and be hey,
right,
we have the because also we all know, my thought is they're honestly kind of lucky that one of the other courts wasn't also trying to do this.
Yeah.
They're
true.
It could have been I would think it would have been funny if this would have happened, but in the Scooby-Doo-esque style, they both go we know they're going for the cauldron.
One door and someone comes out.
Yeah, and they're just sitting there looking at each other, being are you going for the cauldron? Are you doing the cauldron thing? Right? If they were.
That's so funny.
Or they're both trying to break in. They both show up to the summer court at the same time, and then they both find it, and they're just wait. I just feel
That's so funny.
They were lucky that no one else.
They were.
Tried to go for this.
I do think, keeping it in here in the context of what we know so far only,
mm-hmm.
I do think that there's this fear that because no one else has such a close connection to the mortals.
Yeah.
The Night Court Inner Circle are the people who have close connections to the mortals still.
Correct, yeah.
And so I think that there's this fear that they're all trying to navigate, that even though they are apparently friends with other courts,
yeah,
that those people will not want to involve their courts in a war. Yeah. And
which is within their right.
Yeah, which is fine. But the thing is the idea of I can't ask them. No, you can. That's
don't assume.
Right.
Ask.
You can ask and be I am asking you because we would benefit from your help, but if you don't want to do that, I get it. Mm-hmm. Right? If your plan was to go it alone anyways, just ask.
I think this is maybe the where the night element of Night Court comes in. They're very cloak and dagger. Mm-hmm. Right? They're very into that they have a spy network. That is their thing. With the amount of skill that they have, I just feel they should be better and smarter. You have this spy network, you have all of these allies. why not use them?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're good at, is all of that, gathering the information, knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I just feel like it could have been, I get that Rhys didn't want to have to involve and put other people in danger, but then again, that is, if I have a critique of Rhys, it is his inability to understand that other people want and can do things.
Yeah.
Him and Tamlin have an oddly similar...
I mean, they are each other's foil.
Correct. They're very similar in those ways.
Yeah.
I think Rhys does it from, like, a... What's the right way to put it? Like a suave, happy-go-lucky, kind of, like, maneuvering behind the scenes way. Tarquin's maybe a little more upfront about it, I would say.
Yeah.
He's a little more heavy-handed about the way that he goes about things, but Rhys underestimates everyone.
Literally
always.
Everyone.
Including, like, his own inner circle. Honestly, often Feyre, clearly his enemy. Like,
so clearly, which we'll get to in the next couple of episodes.
But I mean, I think even, like, he underestimated Amarantha. He underestimated her
cunning.
He
did.
In an attempt to protect his friends, which is fair. I'm not saying that wanting to protect the people that you love is a negative trait, but I think there was a point where it's so far that it's actually not protecting them anymore. It's just putting yourself in danger.
It's that meme where it's like asking people for help makes me weak, and then my therapist points to a picture of Aragorn and says, was Aragorn weak for asking for the support of his friends?
Yeah.
And then you just break down crying, saying no, and the therapist hands you a tissue box. Like, Rhysand needs to watch The Lord of the Rings.
I actually do have a thought about that when we get to the Valaris scene.
Okay.
But I love Lord of the Rings as well. That was, fun fact, my parents also did for the original trilogy. I went to every midnight release movie. I was 5. Okay.
That's amazing.
My parents also wanted to see these, so I went to all the midnight releases of these movies. So,
yeah.
But anyhow, I just feel like if, like, because so if they did it with Tarquin, they would have had the whole of the Summer Court behind them. They wouldn't have had to steal the book.
Correct.
They wouldn't have almost died. They would still have their favor from the water rates.
They sure would.
Which I think is...
It could have been really useful to call in later.
Strategically helpful for them. There was just a lot of things that I feel like could have been avoided. Also would not have been as fun of a book. I'm fully aware why Sarah didn't do it. But from, like, a logical standpoint, not that it wouldn't have been as fun. I think she just could have written it differently. Like, a different path could have happened. I think some of the same outcomes could have still happened. I think it just would have been in a different way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, that's my thought process. Just involve Tarquin. Trust your friends.
Yeah.
Good golly.
Be like Aragorn.
Everyone should be like Aragorn. Also, one of my number one fantasy crushes. I love that man.
I love that man too.
Viggo Mortensen. Love you. The door scene. If you know, if you don't, please go look it up.
Yeah. It's spectacular.
It's him opening these doors. Incredible. Also, watch those movies, please. If you've never seen them. I've been shocked at the amount of people that haven't seen them.
I have too. It's crazy.
It's wild. Anywho, love them.
Anywho.
Okay.
Shall we move on to our deep dive?
Yeah, let's go.
Deep dive.
Woohoo.
Okay.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
the theory that I wanted to bring back.
Oh, yes, about the Morgan.
About the Morgan.
Yes.
So, we talk a lot about how her power being truth makes absolutely no sense.
Correct.
Right?
I still stand by that.
We have another powerful being in this universe, which I've talked about this too, whose power is truth, and that is the Suriel. The Suriel knows things. Might be more knowledge than truth, maybe?
Yeah. Like, they're omnipotent.
But they trade in truths.
Correct.
Right? Like, if you have a question about something, if there's knowledge that you seek, it is knowledge, but it's also truth.
It's true knowledge.
It's true knowledge. And then when we hear Morgan say that she speaks the truth, we're like, what do you mean?
What do you mean by that?
So I have this theory that when she says, my power is the truth, I speak the truth, it's like in this, like, almost like a seer, like an oracle type of thing, where, like, when she speaks the truth, it's not like just telling a truth. It's like she goes into this
magical trancey kind of thing almost?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that I found support in that passage that I read.
Mm-hmm.
So the Morrigan is holding the Veritas, and she's saying the whole thing about truth is this, truth is that, blah, 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 blah. And basically what Feyre says is that her eyes are not
like wholly human anymore.
Holy Fey or whatever anymore, holy mortal anymore.
There we go, mortal.
And her voice has taken on this like tenor that's different from just normal speech, and the hairs on Feyre's armor are like prickling.
There's clearly a magical component. To it.
So I do think, and like I don't know what that means.
Yeah, we still don't know what that means.
Don't know what it means, but I do think that like it's really fun to poke fun at, you know, some of the things in this. It's just really fun. There's a lot of material there, but I do think that it's like it's not like a thing that she's just like, oh yeah, I'm the Morgan, I speak the truth, I'm just shooting truths out. No, I think it's like when she is using her power, she is like other.
Yes, there's like a more I think the thing with her, so we kind of get like a pretty good explanation of what, like, we don't get a phenomenal one, but we have a good grasp of like what Cassian does. We have a good grasp of what Amryn does now. And Asriel, we get shadows. We know what those do.
Yeah.
We don't really get a good description of the Morgan. She's so fascinating, and I think that's why, I think we've talked about this before, she gets a lot of hate on the internet for being who she is. And I think it's because we don't have a good grasp on who she is. And so I think she's the easiest to parse apart.
I think so too, and I think that this is the only instance that we get of her using her power.
Correct, and she's considered the second most powerful, like even
she
considered
is
more
number 2.
powerful than Amryn. And this is the only, which I'm not saying that Truth isn't powerful. Truth is incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
but like we don't even really get a sense, like it clearly didn't do anything to the queens.
right.
Like the Golden Queen made up her mind before she got there. So I think that's the part that I'm not certain about is like. And, like, on the battlefield, she's number 2. How does truth help on a battlefield? Like, what does that do? I think that's the part.
People can't face the truth sometimes, you know?
Don't I know it? Including myself. So, but I'm wondering if maybe there is something more to that, and more to that. That was not intentional. And, like, supposedly there's supposed to be more books in the series. There's 5. Supposedly there's supposed to be a 6. It's been a couple of years. Don't know at this point. Every author deserves a break. I understand. But
true.
She's also written an extreme amount of books.
She's written a lot of books.
In her time span. But I am just intrigued to see if we get a little bit better context around more. Because we don't really get a lot more than this. This is by far the most, like, description of her power that we get. We get a lot about her personally. Like, her personality and learning more about her backstory eventually. But
yeah. So yeah, that was my...
No, I like that.
I read that and I was like, oh my god. It's like the one hint that we have.
No, it's interesting, and I do wish we had more.
Me too.
Because I like the concept of like a power of truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you like to talk about next?
So, I mean, the boys fighting, that doesn't really... Just kind of is what it is.
It's just really funny. Cassian's like... makes quips about, I think he's like, well, Feyre, you don't look so tired. If you want, like, I could help you. And Rhys, like, just punches him in the face. It's so funny.
I do think this section really solidified for me that I think Cassian is my favorite. Like, Asriel is so interesting, and I get it. I am just not into the, like, background brooding bad boy types necessarily. I love a rowdy, rambunctious, like... in your face kind of person, and it's so good, and he does it well.
He does it so well
because he knows when to be serious as well. Like if he was that way the whole time, I think I would get annoyed, if that makes sense. Like if he was in that meeting with the Mortal Queens and he's like like he knows the context
he does
of when to not do it.
Even just like he brings that all down and like goes to Nesta and wipes her tear away and is like, I will fight for your sister, I'll fight for you. You know,
he knew he is partially probably because he was literally abandoned and had to fight for himself. But he's really good at reading a situation, regardless of where it is, seeing what that person needs and knowing what to do, whether it's to beat the crap out of them or to be really tender.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess that is tender, but it is kind of forceful as well. He's like, I will fight for you. And he's like forcing her to understand what he's meaning.
Right.
In a, like, forcing is not the right word, but kind of.
He's like, he's like, you will listen and understand what I'm saying to you.
It's like, in those romance books, he didn't do it, but when they, like, grab their face when they're having a panic attack and they're like, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me. That's kind of what he's doing, but in a way that Nesta will accept it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. It
Not
does.
letting her spiral in front of all these people.
Speaking of Cassian, a
Yes.
couple more things that I think I glossed over in the chapter summary. First of all, him and Feyre go and see a concert in the rainbow.
Just so casual.
What a random pairing for a concert.
I love them. I know. I feel like Cassian loves music.
Yeah.
Loves a little mosh pit. I don't know what they're doing.
Like,
but,
it's this like ancient music that was from before humans walked to the earth,
which is fun.
apparently. And Cassian's like, I don't really get it. Seems kind of off kilter to me. And Farrah's like, but it's so beautiful. And like just imagining the two of them sitting in that concert, and Cassian's kind of just like twiddling his thumbs, like looking over at Farrah and like, oh, she's crying. Okay, nope, we're watching the music. It's good. That is what I pictured in my mind.
So it's like taking someone who isn't like super into music to an opera.
Yeah.
And them just being like,
yeah.
Did I miss something?
Right? That is what I picture. And I love it so much because he's such a good friend.
But no, he's very supportive, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. Their friendship might be my favorite.
So cute.
Because they're so funny. Because like she's a bro with Cassian.
She is a bro with Cassian.
They are bros.
Yeah.
Which I adore.
They are. And then, so before this, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
They come back with the book in hand, and then Rhysand has to go off to the Court of Nightmares for something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where I think Mor went with him to the Court of Nightmares.
Probably, yeah.
And Amren's holed away in her loft apartment with the book, right? And like Azriel's doing his spy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then one night, Azriel and Cassian both like come over to celebrate Farrah's mating bond with like a really nice bottle of wine, and she
drink all the wine.
they drink all the wine, and she realizes that they're not just there to like. They're there to protect her too while Rhys is gone.
Yeah.
And she like writes Rhys a note, and she's like, they don't need to protect me. And he's like, listen, they love you,
Mm-hmm.
and they are very protective of you, especially now that we're mated.
Mm-hmm.
They're also like, their instinct is in overdrive to be like very protective of you.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you can kick them out, they'll just sit on the roof all night. Like, she was like, ugh.
I get it, especially after, because she had those guards in the spring court. But I think the way I love Feyre. I do think her hyper independence is not phenomenal.
I just rolled my eyes. Sorry, everyone.
The audible eye roll that we have. Because I am a pretty independent girly.
Yeah.
I am definitely not hyper independent.
Correct.
I purposely, this is a true fact, this is how I basically force Orja to be my friend. I buy tickets to concerts that I want to go to, and I buy 2, and then I just find new people that I want to be friends with and ask if they want to go to the concert with me.
It was like, what, like 4 months into our tentative work friendship?
Correct.
And she was like, I have tickets to see Lizzo. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah, sure.
So I do forget to mention sometimes that, like, I'm not expecting you to pay me for the ticket. I already paid for it. I'm not that concerned.
Yeah.
So you were like, how much is it? And I was like, oh, I don't really care about that part. I just want someone to come with me. I'm like, I have 2 tickets. I just need someone to come with me. They were also floor tickets. I don't think I told you that one.
You didn't. No, it was awesome. That was so fun.
The concert was Lizzo.
Yeah.
I know there's some controversy around you. I adore you.
Yeah, I do too.
She's making new music, and I'm really
I'm
stoked.
so excited.
They're really good. Anywho, so our friendship started. That is still my contact photo. For
That's
you,
so funny.
Is the first photo that we took of us at the Lizzo concert. So anywho, I understand being independent, but I also understand needing people. I understand the concept of hyper independence. I do think it's a common, like, maybe misstep that often authors make to make their female characters feel stronger.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I hate it.
I think it doesn't make them stronger. I think it makes them more male.
Which I don't think makes
them stronger. Correct. Well, but there's that, like, hyper independence in men.
Yeah.
That's like an expectation societally, at least in Western culture. To have this, like, oh man, kind of like, I don't need anyone else to take care of me thing.
Yeah.
I prefer the concept of it takes a village. Because I think it does. I know we say that about kids, but in general, I think it takes a village.
Yeah.
To navigate and
is
survive.
really important.
Correct. It's a very important part of any part of your life.
Yeah.
Regardless. So.
I'll say this too. Personally, very independent person.
Mhm.
I've traveled the world by myself, alone. I've been single in a group of very not single friends for a long time before. Obviously, not since I met my husband, but and even with my husband, as much as we we could spend every single minute of every single day together all the time. However, I still go off and do things without him all the time.
Which I think is healthy.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
However, even with his friends, if they came over to check up on me when Joel was gone, I would never be like, I don't need you.
Yeah, no.
I would be like, this is very sweet, thank you.
I am curious if Feyre would feel that way if it wasn't for Tamlin.
It's possible.
Because that is kind of like the trauma response element talking, I think, at times with her, to give her some credit.
Yeah.
To give her some credit to that. I also just don't, it's a trope of, like, stronger female characters that I don't like.
Yeah.
Just because I don't think it's realistic.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I like having people around. I like people feeling protective of me because I feel protective of them too. Like, it's mutually exclusive.
It is, to me, an attractive trait in anyone. Like, including friends or partners. Like, a protective, loyalty. I think I've talked about this before. Loyalty is one of my, like, favorite things. And when that, like, breaks, I have a really hard time with that. That's, like, my no-go.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feyre, they love you.
I
know that it's, I think you're right. Like, I know that it's a little bit of a trauma response, but they're not the same.
Well, they are.
Cassian yelled at you to go to the townhouse, and when you were like, no, I'm staying, he gave you weapons to fight with.
Correct. He was like, which I don't think was a negative reaction.
No.
At all. I think something that Sarah does well in this book, and I think that's part of it, is showing that technically what Tamlin did was not wrong. It was the way that he did it.
Yeah.
Like, wanting to protect her and wanting her to be gone.
I'm just gonna finish this.
Yeah, that's fine. Please do. And, like, because it's been brought up a lot. Rhys and Tamlin are very similar. The way that they go about things are very similar. But they have different motivations behind them. Like, Tamlin wants to protect what's his. The Inner Circle wants to protect her.
Yeah.
Which I think is two very different things, and I think that's why their approach to it is different, and why when she pushes back, they're like, okay, maybe this isn't protecting her.
Yes.
In the way that we think it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, so I think she does do a really good job at that, and I think people are like, oh my gosh, they're the same, and I'm like, they're really not. And I think that it was intentional. She intentionally wanted to show that, like, Tamlin is not a big evil, well, we haven't quite got there yet. He is not intended to be this, like, big, evil, awful person. He is someone who also just is not dealing with his trauma well, had horrible family.
Yeah.
Is trying to live up to the expectations of what was set for him. And royally goes about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I still hate him. This is not me I'm not a Tamlin apologist, but I do think that is Sarah's intention.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. He's not the villain of the story.
He's not. He's the villain in Feyre's story.
Yeah.
He's not the villain of the story.
Yeah. Until later.
Yes. we get to a point that is something, if you've read any other Sarah J. Maas books, which I highly recommend you do. I love this series. This is not my favorite one. She is very good at making you be attached to someone that kind of turns evil and then redeeming them. Like, that is a incredible skill that I think she has. And a lot of people are like, you can't redeem Tamlin. There is a character in one of her books that I never thought she could redeem. And the book that she wrote about him is honestly one of my favorites she's ever written.
It's so good.
It's so good, and she did such a good job at it that, like, I still don't like him that much, but it made me not hate him.
Correct.
Which is important. Because, like, especially with book characters, if I don't like you, it is so hard
It's so hard to bring you around.
Correct. And she took an entire book to do it. It took an entire book.
But she did the work. Like, she went in and dug deep and, like, went into the trauma, and
she also forced him to do the work.
Yeah, like, he had to address everything.
Correct. He had to address his own scumbaggery and deal with it. I'm really coming out with some phrases today.
Scumbaggery is my favorite.
Shake of a lamb's tail. That really cracked me up. So, I don't know where these are coming from. Apparently, I have reverted back into like a 16th century Victorian.
I love it.
Anywho, so if you are someone who likes to read those, I do think Sarah is really good at that in her writing, and I kind of hope she does it for Tamlin. I think it's being set up where it could be. I just don't want it to be the way that the internet has posed it.
No, I don't want it to be that way either. And we all know, all of our avid listeners, all 5 of you, know that I very much disliked Tamlin immediately. Mm-hmm. Felt extremely vindicated in this book, where I was like, I knew he sucked, right? But reading the books through the lens of this podcast, where you're actually going through and you're like studying it, basically. So different. I don't hate him as much as I used to.
I've read this book quite a few times. Yeah. And every time I've read this book, I have come up to Orja and been like, I learned something new. Yeah. Or like, I had a very different perspective on this character. I will say on this reread, I hate Elaine a little less, which is good. I understand why you hated her a lot, but I never hated her too much. I honestly, the first go-round really didn't, because I was so focused on Nesta. Yeah. Which is the point. You're so focused on Nesta that you don't see Elaine's pitfalls. And then the second one, I was like, oh, I need to like pay more attention to Elaine.
And you were just really mad.
I was so infuriated that she gets away with what she gets away with, and Nesta does not, because if I am more of one of the two, I'm definitely more of an Nesta than I am an Elaine. And it is frustrating when you are held more accountable than someone else that is just like slightly softer than you and is doing the same things. Yeah. That is mostly it. That is mostly my rage.
No, that's fair. Can we talk about Feyre's magic?
Oh.
In the attack on Valaris?
Yes, I want to talk about the water wolves.
Okay, she makes them, and I quote, as large as the wolf I killed. Yeah. Like, she is a beast in the best way.
Well, she understands vicious animals because she hunted them. Correct. And knows how effective they are.
This is that artistic part of her brain. Yeah. That really keen, intelligent, observant, artistic part of her brain creating beautiful weapons. Of destruction.
Which is pretty.
It's so pretty.
Which is so interesting in the way that she goes about it. It's also, I think, telling of, like, what powers she feels most comfortable mastering. Yeah. Like, we don't really know some of the other powers, but, like, we know water and ice really well, which are also their allies. Fun fact. I think it's the ones that she feels the most comfortable and connected, or at least doesn't have any bad connotations with their High Lord or with the person that gave it to them. Yeah. Like, water was by far the fastest one. Yeah. That she
grasps it very quickly.
Correct.
The water wolves, and they're just like charging along. She sees this lady who will come back. She's important. She sees this lady in the artist quarter holding up like a
rusty pipe
against like 6 soldiers.
She's not backing down.
There's people hiding in the gallery behind her, and the soldiers are laughing, and the wolves run at them and kill them.
That woman might be my favorite.
She's amazing.
She is incredible.
She comes back. We'll see her in this book. Is it this book?
Mm-hmm. It has to be.
Yeah. Maybe it might be the 3rd book.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. We see her again, and she's amazing.
I love a feisty, like, I know I'm gonna die, but I will go down swinging. Yeah. May not always be me, but I love people that are that way.
Yeah. And then and then when the soldiers are flying away, she turns her wolves into birds of prey.
So smart. Yeah. Smart, and I think, like, we knew that she's got good control to be able to, like, instantly be like, bird. Yeah. Also, the most terrifying thing on the planet to me. Yes. I'm really terrified of birds. Don't know if I've talked about that on this podcast. I am terrified of birds. So.
Yeah, this would be Colleen's worst nightmare.
Correct. Yeah.
No Amryn needed. Nightmare already there.
No, nightmare is manifesting in front of me. If I was in this fight, I'd be like, Feyre, don't do this to me.
like, Feyre, don't do this to me. I will not be able to help you.
Like, turn it into bugs. I'm not afraid of bugs. It's
Yeah.
just birds. Like, a really big beetle, terrifying.
That is.
Big old flying beetle.
Right.
Turn it into that, please.
And then she, speaking more of her powers, so, like, she doesn't technically have enough control of her powers to be able to winnow back to the Illyrian camp herself.
Correct.
Or to winnow to Hybern herself. But she can wrangle that power to winnow. The adder is actively flying away, and she winnows right on top of him.
Which I'm assuming her archery stuff helped her significantly with this.
Yeah,
yes.
no, it's so cool.
But also, like, I remember reading it and being like, wait, I thought, like, I had to go back the first time because I didn't understand how she ended up on top of him.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, I had to, like, go back and read it again, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. She basically, like, uses her power. So, like, she senses the shift in the water, and she realizes it's coming from the ocean. She can, like, feel the sea creatures or the river creatures on the bottom. Like, she can feel the things around her now because she has all of this power.
Which is interesting, yeah.
And so she, like, uses her power to focus in on the adder's, like, oily aura, basically.
Yeah.
And winnows right on top of him.
Incredible.
It's so good.
This is probably Feyre, to me, like, shining moment.
Yeah.
Because we don't see her really as much in the other battles that we see her in. She's not, like, as an active a participant, which is fair. She's not used to battle.
Yeah.
But this is her, like, also the vindication of killing that adder.
I know. It's so good.
It's so good. And so...
It's so good. And
restorative.
she, like, she does it for Rhys.
Mm-hmm.
She does it for Claire Better. Claire Better, poor Claire.
Bringing her back. Well, not really. But bringing her back up.
Yeah. Like, not letting her have died in vain, I guess.
Yeah, no. Which is heartbreaking.
Yeah. But, like, that adder has caused a lot of misery.
Nightmare. And he was so gleeful about it.
Yeah.
He enjoyed every
second
of all of it.
Yeah. No, it was so good.
Except for his death. Not happy about that one.
No, he didn't love that.
No, he was an unhappy man. I'll say boy. He was a boy, not a man.
Yeah.
Unhappy boy.
Unhappy boy.
Correct.
And then the last of it. So she shuts Rhysand out so completely, he cannot get to her mind.
Mm-hmm.
He is the most powerful High Lord in the history of Prythian.
And one of the most powerful Damati.
And she shuts him out so completely.
Correct.
And he mentions it later. He's like, you shut me out. And she's like, I'm sorry. And he was like, you should be very proud of yourself.
Like, I tried real hard.
Yeah. And he was like, you know, like, he wasn't mad at her for shutting him out. He was like, I get it. I was just really worried about you, and I couldn't get to you.
I mostly... I feel like Rhys maybe should have been a little bit mad at being like, you could have just been like, I'm good, and then closed it. Like, I'm good, no worries. She's just like, no, not now. Not right now.
Her thought was, not now.
Correct.
That was it.
Correct. That's it. Not now. And he's like, that means nothing to me.
He's like, but you're like falling from the sky.
Correct.
About to smash on the pavement. What do you mean, not now?
Correct. Yes.
Nope.
This is another one of those favorite. This might be my favorite is Dum Dum of hyper independence and not communicating.
Yeah.
Just a little more communication, Feyre.
Just, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. What do you think that, if we didn't know what was going to happen, what do you think that, do you want to take it one step further, comment means at the end?
Ooh. Yes. Okay. Something with the water wolves and things. So I'm bringing back up Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Because I don't know how this is in the books. I've read the books. I read them in high school. That was far too many years ago to count at this point, so I don't remember all the details. But it's like the water horses in the movie.
Yes.
The first time I read this, I'm assuming Sarah must have had to have drawn
She must have.
from that. She used wolves. It was different. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's also not that original.
No.
It's not like I'm not
fine.
saying she stole from Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is kind of it's the fantasy base.
It is.
Everyone takes from it.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But like that was one of my favorite scenes in those movies of seeing those like water horses come down and like sweep them all away where they can't do anything, and it's just that was
Yeah.
it. That's all I think about every
No,
time
that's amazing.
that comes up
I didn't even think about that.
immediately. I have seen these movies many times.
It's been a while since I've seen them.
That really stuck in my. You have seen the photos. I dressed up as Arwen from Lord of the Rings, one of my favorite costumes when I was in college. I adore them.
Yeah.
So
I think the last time I watched The Lord of the Rings was, I think it was during shutdown, like 2020. So if you want to do a marathon, we can.
I was just about to say yes. I will say I love the director's cut. We don't have that time.
That would be a little long. Although I have in high school, our friends decided to do the director's cut movie marathon.
They're so good.
It took us 12 hours.
No, they're like 3 hours a piece. They were incredible films.
No, it was so fun.
But it's not necessary.
It's a
I
long
know
time.
Lord of the Rings people don't come for me. I know, but it's not. They edited it for a reason.
Yeah,
It's okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Although more Aragorn screen time.
There's not much more.
Yeah,
With him in the
there
3 hour long version.
If there was, I would 100% every single time.
Honestly, more Merry and Pippin.
Oh my god, yes, I love them.
They were who I adored as a kid. Everyone was like, were you an Aragorn or Legolas? I was like, I'm going to be so honest with you. Loved Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, Merry and Pippin were so good. And little young baby Elijah Wood, he's so cute. He's got such big blue eyes.
Him and, oh my gosh, Sean Astin, who plays Samwise. I adore them.
Me too.
Oh, the little hobbits are fun.
Me too. Did I send you the meme where it was like, every time I buy something stupid on the internet, that's the Gollum in me winning?
I don't know, but that doesn't surprise
Right?
me.
Where it's like, I'll buy something because like my brain's like, my precious.
Yeah, the shiny thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like Smeagol's back and Smeagol's like, Gollum, why?
Why are you like this? Yeah, me every time I open up my phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I buy that?
Yeah.
I didn't need that.
So anywho,
Yeah.
we have that was a very long detour into the Lord of the Rings, but this shouldn't surprise anyone.
No, not even. If you are surprised, you have not been watching.
Why? Yeah, why? What do you mean?
We have a book podcast. One of us was in theater.
Ta-da!
So, like, Lord of the Rings is not a shocker. One of us plays D&D. Again,
Yeah,
should not be surprised.
One of us studied literature.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did not study these books, but...
yeah.
Okay, so what the future thing? What was that line again? I'm sorry.
The future?
You said that we were going to predict something.
Yes. Okay, so literally chapter 60 ends with, and I quote, "After we nullify the cauldron, I want to do it all," says Feyre. "Get the bond declared, get married, throw a stupid party, and invite everyone in Valaris, all of it." Rhys took the box from my hands and set it down on the nightstand before herding me toward the bed. "And if I want to go one step beyond that, I'm listening," I purred as he laid me on the sheets. End of chapter 60. And we don't know what that means.
We don't know. We know what it means.
We know what it means, but we don't know what that means.
Correct.
So now we're gonna do really, really fun bad guesses.
I mean, I had a practical guess, but I don't think that would be... Honestly, when I read this the first time, I think, especially because it's in, like, a sexual context, assumed that maybe they were going to have a discussion about that they actually wanted to have a kid.
Ooh.
And have, like, a baby.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that Rhysand wants to get her floofy dress back from wherever it was thrown away and reenact the Tamlin wedding.
So my next thought was something similar, but not that funny. Like, that's their roleplay now.
Yeah.
That dress is
That
awful.
dress is so bad.
It's so bad. Because, like, a poofy dress can be cute.
It can be cute.
They made that one
That one
purposely
is
ugly.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to relive your trauma.
Yeah. How fun.
But make it hot. Honestly, not necessarily the worst roleplay.
Reclaiming.
Correct, which I think is
Yeah. Reclaim that dress, Feyre.
very helpful for a lot of people. Also, you can rip it up.
Exactly.
Destroy it in a fun way.
Ooh, have the wedding and then start the bonfire with the dress.
Ooh, actually, that would be super fun. No, my thought was he wanted to finally take her to that lingerie shop.
Oh, yes.
And have that, like...
Have that fantasy scene.
Yes, where he, like, planted it in her head and she was like, stop that.
Yeah, that was really funny.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
That would be fun.
They become king of all of Prythian.
Yes.
He's like, I don't want to be a king. You're the queen of all of us.
Yeah.
All of you are
Let's
the
do
queen.
that.
Yeah, which they don't technically have right now.
They don't have a queen.
Well, they don't have like a ruling
yeah.
person over all the courts. It's each court that comes together in like a EU kind of conglomerate, I guess.
Yep. One step further. What if they made Cassian and Asriel learn a flash mob?
Would be funny. I thought it was Cassian would love to. Asriel would hate every
Asriel
minute.
would hate every minute.
He would be like, sorry, I gotta go spy some more.
Yeah, like this.
That was, because I think it would be really funny. It's like they officially adopt Cassian.
Oh my god. Yes!
Cassian would love it. They couldn't do it.
Cassian would be so happy.
Cassian would be like, hey mom, hey dad.
Yeah.
He would thrive.
He would thrive. Azrael would be like, absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. But he would think it's so funny.
Yes.
Because they're married now. They need a kid.
Yeah, they need a kid. Cassian can be that kid.
Although I guess technically if they did like officially adopt him, that would technically make Cassian next in line for the throne.
It would.
He wouldn't like that part.
No.
He doesn't want that part. But he would
doesn't.
think that he would be like, I don't want it to be official, but I am officially calling you mom and dad exclusively. And it would annoy the heck out of Rhys.
That would be so funny.
And it would make Feyre giggle the whole time.
Pharaoh would love it.
Feyre would love it. Rhys would hate it.
Yeah.
Because then he'd start calling him daddy at one point.
Oh my god, yes.
And Rhys would be like, you have to stop.
Like, you must stop this.
And he's like, no.
What if we take it one step further? I'm listening. Winnow to the spring court Tamlin's Manor and do like a real quick wedding ceremony there.
I like the concept of doing it in.
Right, like in the spring court manor.
Would that be a binding marriage at that point, though? If they didn't do it in their own court? How does that work?
I think.
I don't really know if they have a law.
I don't know, yeah.
Because then technically they would be under spring court law, not night court law.
Go get Alice from the spring court is what they're gonna do.
Oh, honestly, yeah.
Honestly, they should. Maybe their one step further is stealing Alice away.
They should.
They should.
Maybe that can be how they get Tarquin back in the good graces.
Yeah.
They return Alice to the summer court.
There we go.
And then they're like, oh, well, you returned one of our people.
Mm-hmm.
I
gotta take those blood rubies back.
gotta take him back. Emran's like, you're not getting them back.
Yeah, everyone's like, good luck with that.
Like, you can take away the mark. You ain't getting them rubies back.
Bachelorette. Joined bachelor and bachelorette party.
At Rita's.
At Rita's.
That would be
Karaoke
fun.
all night.
Honestly.
Right?
Would be fun.
Yeah.
I would love to party with the inner circle.
Me too.
I hope they party in the right, like, responsible way.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a way that would make me afraid for all of our safety.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like that. One step further. This is just, like, because it's always the, like, thing that people criticize about Rhys. We will somehow find a way to actually ban wing clipping.
Yeah.
Actively.
Let's take it one step further. Let's actually fix this problem.
Let's actually fix the horrible problem. Or, maybe don't let the people under the mountain. Like, you let the cat out of the bag. Don't let the people under the mountain be as awful as they are.
Yeah.
Don't let them do that.
Right. Let's take it one step further. Let's reform our image.
Let's actually rule.
Yeah.
Let's not just let people do what they want.
Rhys, there are so many things that you could actually do with that invitation, and yet we know what you did do, and it's pretty great.
No, I love what you actually
It's
did do
amazing.
with it. I do adore. I think Rhys is a good person, bed ruler.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I think he's almost, when people talk about, like, you're too good of a person to rule, I think Rhys is almost there. Like, he's not good at ruling.
No, it comes back to the structure of their court is
Correct.
There's no structure.
Correct. I mean, they have a structure, but, like, not really.
Not really.
No. Which, again, works well to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
It works well in, like, small scale.
It works well in Valaris.
Correct, which is already self-sufficient.
Correct.
You don't really need to rule. He doesn't rule. He just...
Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but they decide that they are indeed going to Hybern.
Yes, they're officially going.
So they're officially going. Their first heist plan didn't go really well. The heist of the summer court, where they set off every single alarm and Rhys knocked the guards out instead of using his Daemati power.
And just let one of them go.
Yeah, so, guys, let's learn. Let's make this heist better.
Maybe reach out to people that have had successful heist and ask their opinion.
This is where they need the Fast and Furious crossover.
Yeah.
The Fast and Furious crew has pulled off a lot of really successful heists.
Correct. They've also pulled off some bad ones, but most of them have been successful.
Yeah.
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 No, we'll be fine.
They need Dom.
Dom.
They need Dom to come in and because like Dom gives off Rhys vibes with like this is my family.
No, Dom and Letty, yeah.
But he does it well.
Correct, because he actually... But see, he only has to care for his family.
Yeah.
So it works for Dom.
Yeah.
He doesn't have an entire kingdom to think about.
That is very true.
His kingdom is his
Is his
ever-expanding family, which is quite large.
It is quite large.
It is.
is almost a kingdom at this point.
Correct.
In
It
time.
is a very small
Island
kingdom.
nation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Dom does well.
He does really well.
I love you, Dom.
Yeah. Rhys, get Dom in there.
Yeah, get Dom. Let him take care of it. Let him plan.
Plus, like, the King of Hybrid has got nothing on Dom.
Correct. He's honestly unknown quant. I think that's the thing is they're kind of predictable.
Yeah.
Like in a way that they go about a lot of their things.
They are.
Is because they're not for like a kingdom that's supposedly sneaky, so straightforward.
Really not sneaky.
They're so straightforward.
I also have this new theory that Azriel's really bad at spying.
That would be funny.
Even if he's a spy master, he's like actually really bad at it.
So I think he knows he's good at spying, not good at application. Like he gets the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
He knows things. But like no idea what to do with that info. He's like, that's not my job.
I like the idea that, like, yes, he's the shadow singer, right? But I like the idea that he thinks he's being really sneaky, but everyone in the room is like, there is a literal blob of shadows right there. Azriel, we know it's you.
Like it's just a brightly lit room.
Yeah, and there's just like a blob of shadows.
And you're just like looking and you're like
Azriel?
you're like, do we just not address it and pretend like he's actually spying on us? And just give him purposely bad info? So instead of Feyre being bad at painting, it's that Azriel's bad at spying.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Azriel's bad at spying. Also, the whole torture master thing, he just tickles people.
Honestly,
That is torture.
correct torture.
Yeah.
I get my nails done and I get a pedicure about once a month. And every time that stone or anything touches my foot, I am actively resisting the urge to kick.
Like in agony.
No, it's awful. And
Yeah.
like I will say my nail tech is very used to it at this point and she just giggles and I'm like, it feels like torture.
Yeah. So yeah, Azriel is really bad at spying and he actually just tickles people to get them to talk.
I'd break immediately.
I would too. That is what would break me. We have our group chat, and they were like, I'd break for a piece of cake, and I was like, you're all weak. I would not break for any. There's no food that would make me break. Tickling would break me.
Tickling would break me. Honestly, we talked about some cherry pie. I'd break for some freaking cherry pie. I love it. That was what I asked for my birthday for many years.
Oh my god, do you remember how we theorized that Azriel would also really like the Great British Bake Off?
Oh, he'd adore it.
He also uses food to get his people to talk.
Oh, yeah, easy.
His torture methods are, you don't get this delectable pastry I've made unless you talk, or I will tickle you until you break. Those are how he tortures people, and he's also really bad at spying. That's my new
I mean, he does seem mildly incompetent sometimes.
headcanon.
I love that.
Yeah.
The Azriel girlies are going to come for you.
I'm sorry.
So hard. We love Az.
We love Az.
We do.
However,
I just feel
Cassian's right there.
Yes. That is how I feel. Cassian is right there.
Azriel girlies, I'm sorry. I adore him, but you guys make fun of Feyre and her painting, so I'm allowed to make fun of Azriel and his spying.
Something I am going to call Azriel girlies out for. You like Azriel because he has no personality and you can project one onto him.
Correct. This is very true.
So, like, he doesn't have a book about him yet. We don't know what really, like...
We don't know if we like him or not.
He is... Yes, you like to project and make men be what you want them to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is all I have to say.
I stand by it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
The
ring.
How? Oh, the ring.
I do feel like we need to address the ring.
We need to address the ring.
A little bit, and then we can be done.
No, we definitely need to address the ring.
That is the most Illyrian thing I have ever heard in my life. Of just being like, she must pass the trial.
Yeah.
I hate it still.
It's so funny.
I hate it. I remember just sitting there being like, I get that he knew. My thought is, I get that he knew he was testing her. Still feel like Feyre should have known that she was being tested.
I think so too. I feel like she did know that she was being tested.
I guess that's fair,
She
but not
knew that
in
they
the
were
way.
testing her ability to seek out something of a High Lord.
Yeah, and I guess she knew it was dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think they really...
She wasn't prepared.
I don't think they really impressed the gravity
No.
of how dangerous.
No, they did not. They let
onto
her
her.
choose without giving her all of the information.
Correct, and I don't like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Also, call back to when Cassian sees what Feyre got and he swears. He knew.
Yeah, everyone else knew. That's the one part of all of this about the whole mating thing.
Yeah.
I probably would have ripped Rhys apart at that point.
Yeah.
Been like, you knew, and you didn't tell me. Totally fine with that, except you tested me
Yeah.
to, like, see if I'd be a good mate.
Yeah.
Like, no.
No.
That's the thing that I would rip him apart for.
Yeah.
I would leave his ass in the mud for
That is fair.
Yes.
That is fair. She doesn't seem angry about that.
First, I guess in her mind, she's like, oh yeah, parents are weird, because she, like, they all kind of have weirdly toxic parents. But she's just like, nah.
That's true.
Like, and
That's true. Her dad's still off on the continent trading at this point in time.
Which,
like, what do you mean?
Which he's also previously been bad at.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
so I don't know.
I would have lost my mind. I'd been like, also, gorgeous ring, I don't want it.
So funny.
Like, you're gonna have to let me cool down for a little bit before we get back to this.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how I would feel at that point in time.
I don't like the concept of testing if I am good enough for you.
Yeah.
That's what would make me
No, that's super upsetting.
angry.
And the fact that Rhys, like, went along with it.
Correct. I get that he promised his now dead mother.
Yeah.
But, like...
But she's obviously good enough for you, so tell her, hey, my mom said this. Would you want to go and get it?
Yeah, like, and I think Feyre would have in a heartbeat.
I think she would have too.
And I think she would have went in better prepared.
Yeah.
And would have done a better job.
Yeah. This also calls back into question, was Rhysand's mother friends with the Weaver?
I mean, it would have to be almost, I would think, if she gave the Weaver...
Right, she gave the Weaver the ring.
I mean, unless she just, like, set it on her porch and was like, peace. I don't know. I don't really... We don't get a lot of context about his mom.
I like to think that she was friends with the Weaver. I think that would be really funny.
I mean, we have seen that Feyre was friends with the Surreal.
Yeah?
So very clearly, they do sometimes make, like, friendship connections. Yeah. So I like to think... I think that's probably the best explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe why the Weaver was so insane when she realized what she was going for.
Oh.
Maybe she went, like, a little bit crazier on purpose.
Maybe. Oh, that's such a good thought.
Yeah.
The Weaver was like, oh, it's time.
I'm like, oh. And they're like, what if it wasn't Rhys's first time throwing someone at the Weaver? What if it's, like, the fourth time? And the Weaver's like, you've got to send me someone, like, her literally going up in the roof, like, next time, I'm eating them. Like, next time it's gonna be so much worse, because you keep sending me awful people. They're all nightmares. Stop doing this to me.
That is so funny.
Because he didn't technically say she was the first one to go for it.
He did not.
Just saying.
The Weaver.
The Weaver's just done with him. And all of his, like, really string of horrible girlfriends.
Rhysand definitely had horrible girlfriends.
Oh, yeah, he has horrible taste in women.
He does.
I love Feyre. He does.
Well, he didn't really choose Feyre.
No, fate chose him.
Exactly.
Fate intervened.
Yeah, fate was like, okay, we're done.
Well, because, like, in this world, mates are supposed to be rare. Not for Rhys. He was like, you have to stop.
Yeah.
I need.
Yeah, fate was like, Rhys, this is no.
I need to intervene on your behalf. I'm going to give you a human. Have fun.
Fate was like, here's a human for you.
But also, like, knowing that, can you imagine human Feyre going into the Weaver's cottage? Just being like, yeah, no big deal.
I can, because she was before she went to Prythian and got super duper traumatized, she would have done it. She was a hunter.
She would have, but I don't think she would have had the strength element that she got from being a Fae was the only way that she could climb up that chimney.
No, it's true.
She would not have been able to get out.
No, but she would have had her arrows on her.
Yeah, but we don't know if the arrows work on the Weaver.
Ash arrow.
But we don't know if it works on the Weaver.
Yeah, but she would still had it.
I mean, true, but it is like an other. Like, the Weaver's not really Fae.
The Weaver is not Fae. She is other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho.
Oh,
fate.
Oh, fate. We've come up with a really funny alternative Akamath. Asriel's horrible at spying. Fate intervened.
Rhys's really bad girlfriends.
Rhys's mom and the Weaver were having tea every Sunday.
They're besties.
Yeah.
Explains why Rhys is so casual about it.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't think that Rhys was as casual that whole time. I think he was freaking out the entire time until he realized Feyre was out, and he's like, I have to be casual.
He was, oh my god,
I have to
yes.
be cool. And Feyre was just like, no.
No. That is exact. Rhys was like there, like ready to pull her out. And then as soon as she got out, he was like, oh, gotta go be cool.
Gotta go winnow myself to this other tree and act like nothing happened. Like the dummy he is.
He is a dummy.
We love you, Rhys,
We
but
love
dummy.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all.
That's all I got.
All right. Cool. Well, folks, we've got 2 more episodes in this book.
Yay!
Crazy.
We do have our next book lined up.
We do have our next book lined up. We have a duology to release.
Yes, and a single episode, special episode.
A location episode.
A location episode that we're also doing.
We will be recording at the Novel Neighbor.
Yes, we're so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this book that we're doing.
It's going to be really fun.
It is a author and book that I have been literally begging Orsha to read since I met her.
Literally.
Correct.
So it's finally happening.
And I'm so excited. I keep asking her, how's it going? Do you like this person? Do you like this character?
I since yesterday, I haven't read anymore. So.
It's okay. They're so good. It's fine. Get there. I've been listening to it when I've been driving around.
Yeah. So
anywho,
we'll see you. Oh, happy spring.
Yes, spring equinox happened.
Yep. Okay, we have been on for a long time.
I love that for us.
Wait, have we?
Have we?
Yes, that is 1 hour and 42 minutes. I was like, has it only been 42 minutes? No way.
No, I'm like, that feels about average for episodes.
Yeah, no, that does.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Ready?
bye.
Bye.